I think you should pay attention to Perplexity AI, and here's why. It's slowly replacing Google and ChatGPT for me and many other people. Jeff Bezos personally invested in this app along with Nvidia and many other well-known Silicon Valley investors. Why? Well, I think he invested in this company for the same reason he invested in Google back in 1998, and the same reason he started Amazon 4 years before that. Let me show you what Perplexity does and see if you can spot what that reason is. Really fast, here's the important thing to understand. In the year of our Lord, 1994, the online advertising revenue globally was $0.00 until someone clicked the first ever clickable banner ad. Then the online ad spending went on a face-melting upward tear and clocked in around $365 billion last year. Meanwhile, a lot of print revenues went down fast, and right now the headlines are saying that many publishers are laying off people. Business Insider is laying people off, Los Angeles Times laid off people, with the billionaire owners saying they can no longer lose 30 to 40 million per year supporting the paper. Layoffs are happening at Condé Nast, Vogue, Sports Illustrated, the music website Pitchfork has closed up shop, Vox Media is cutting, Jezebel shutting down, Vice Media is shutting down, and many more. Meanwhile, Google ad revenues are growing every year. Here's a chart showing skyrocketing online spend versus falling newspaper ad revenue for print and digital. Now, there's a new tech wave that might again reshuffle how we access information, and that's AI, specifically LLMs. Now, I don't know which company or companies will emerge on top, but I think Perplexity is showing what that next stage of evolution will look like. All right, so here's Perplexity. So it's basically a search engine. Just click on here, search for anything pretty much just like you would on any other search engine. So recently I just saw that Figure AI, the robotics companies, they were in talks with OpenAI about some deal, and I think Microsoft was in there too. Now the options here is one, focus. This allows us to specify where to look for this information. And this is pretty cool. We'll dive into that in a little bit. Attach is for attaching various images, text, PDFs. Copilot is kind of like a chatbot that allows you to talk back and forth with your searches. And normally you get just a handful per day. And then if you upgrade to the Pro, you get I think close to 600. It looks like I have 582 left today. We'll come back to all of that. Let's just hit play and see what happens. So it's understanding the question. So it pulled in 4 sources, or rather 3 sort of main sources. One is the Figure AI website. So it understood what Figure AI is by reading the website. And yes, this is exactly the story that I briefly saw the headline, Figure AI in talks with Microsoft and OpenAI, right? And so it has these news sources as well as looks like 11 more that we can look at. Business Insider, Verdict, Seeking Alpha, MS Power User, YouTube, Reuters. This is, I would say, a pretty good collection of resources. I mean, some are better than others, but I feel like this, if I was doing this research, I would build probably like a similar list as I was searching for it. And so the answer starts with Figure AI, a startup specializing in the development of humanoid robots, is reportedly in talks with Microsoft and OpenAI to secure $500 million in a funding round, which would, if successful, put it at $1.9 billion. But it's not finalizing and it could collapse. And so the important thing to understand about Perplexity is that it's not sort of using its memory. It's not making stuff up. Now, it has different models that it uses. It can use GPT 3.5, GPT 4. It has Claude on there as well as many others, but it's basically designed to search for that information and summarize that information from the web pages and sources that it finds, which means that it's real time. There's a lot less chance of hallucinations because it's not sort of forced to give its answer from its training data, and God knows what that could produce. How the founder explains it, everything that it writes is supported by sources. None of it is, just like freestyling what it comes up with, if that makes sense. So these are the sources, and I apologize if you can't see them. So this is readwrite.com. This is Bloomberg. So if I click on them, this is readwrite, Figure AI in talks with Microsoft and OpenAI for funding. As you can see here, like these numbers that I'm looking at, it's pulling them exactly from there. So it's not guessing, it's not making it up, it's pulling it from that website. Here's Bloomberg, same. By the way, if at any point in this video, you start wondering, what's the point of Perplexity? This is the point. You're looking at it. this and pop-ups and autoplay videos and cookies and email opt-ins. This is the point. And the other source it has is Bloomberg. So let's take a look at Bloomberg. And I'm going to open it in incognito so that you see it in its sort of normal form without any of my little modifications that I make in my browser, because I want you to see the difference between this Perplexity and going to the actual source. Here's the actual source, right? So it's hitting you, it's mostly ads, right? Here's, as soon as I start scrolling, it hits me with this, you got to log in. We're not going to let you see anything. And quickly, it quickly starts like fading it out. And there's more ads. And this is probably not even like the worst website in the world, right? There's some with autoplay videos. It's even worse on mobile, I feel like nowadays. They're trying to shove in as much as ads and tracking and God knows what as possible. I mean, if you look at how many things are tracking you, brand metrics and DoubleClick and Google AdSense, etc., they have like 1 million analytics that are tracking you. And again, this site is not even one of the bad ones. This one is like okay-ish, this is nothing. And here's Perplexity. It gives me exactly what I need. If I don't trust some information, I want to verify for myself. You get your little sources that you can go and check out. Then it tells you a little bit more about Figure AI. The sources are from Figure AI, one of them. This is the actual site that it's pulling the information from. Talks about what it's trying to accomplish, what its goal is, how it can positively impact humanity, etc. Next, it's talking about like more of the Microsoft and OpenAI, kind of like what their perspective on this is, and it's linking to Tom's guide. Again, so this is Tom's guide. So we got this little autoplayed video here, full-blown ads, ads on ads on ads on ads. Another autoplay video, and if you try to leave, they hit you with a little subscribe to our newsletter, which you can't click anywhere until unless you click the little X button. And they have 27 different advertising little cookies and whatnot, half of which I've never even heard. They get pretty much every tracker imaginable. So if you visit this site, and I'm not picking on this site in particular. Again, every site is like this nowadays, but let's say you wanted to read up a little bit more about what's happening here, right? This little bit of text that they have here, maybe 1,000, 2,000 words, it's extremely difficult to get access to with all of the other stuff that they're adding, all the information that they're collecting and all the information that they're selling to. I mean, you saw 27 different advertising platforms. Or here's a 1-paragraph summarization of all of that through Perplexity. Now we can ask some follow-ups. This is, some of the generated ones that you can ask, or you can just ask whatever follow-up, like who is the founder of Figure AI? I believe it's Brett Adcock is the founder. So let's see if it's able to figure that out. There it is. It's got pictures of the guy. And so that's how you search on here. And I don't know if you're getting excited. I don't know if you're like me, you're kind of getting excited about this because I really get frustrated with how the web has developed. So I started doing online stuff in 2011. It's like that song, Welcome to the Internet by Bo Burnham. But like he says, not that long ago, just before your time, this was catalogs, travel blogs, a chat room or two. And now it's kind of a mess. And I was really hoping that AI would help solve some of those issues, at least in part. And I think it will. And I think Perplexity is showing how. Now, I don't know if Perplexity is going to be the big winner in all this or not. This isn't really necessarily about them as much as it is, here is the framework for the solution. But let's say you want to do your research, but you want to restrict it to a very specific area from which you're trying to do that research. So for example, nowadays I find myself typing, when I'm doing a Google search, restricting my search to Reddit, because I don't want to deal with all the nonsense that the rest of the internet has. If I click focus, by default, you're searching across the entire internet, but you can also search by just academic papers. This is writing without searching the web. You have Wolfram Alpha, YouTube, and Reddit. So let's try Reddit. And let's say we're going to research we'll search best idle games, for example, and we'll click play. So immediately the Copilot fires back with, well, are you interested in mobile, PC, or browser? I'm going to say PC, and it begins writing out Melvar Idle, NGU, Realm Grinder. This one's excellent. Trims Eidolon. This is a big one. So it gives us a top 10 list based on actual suggestions by people for this particular thing using Reddit as a source. Now, if you're not familiar with Reddit, it's basically a community where a bunch of people just talk about stuff, and they have various subreddits where people talk about specific stuff that they might be interested in. And so here I am opening this in an incognito window. One thing you'll notice not a lot of pop-ups. There's not a lot of autoplay videos. There's not a lot of, cookie notifications, etc. Like it's pretty chill. And the people, the Redditors in this community, they're fighting hard to just kind of keep it this way. I mean, here's an ad, for example, but I gotta say, like this is unobtrusive. This does not bother me whatsoever. I'm almost happy that they're, making money from ads without being all up in your face about it. And the really cool thing about Reddit is the people that run it, who are not the employees, they have these mods that run it, and they tend to be aggressively anti-promotion. They don't like you pitching your stuff. They don't like you pitching affiliate deals. If you're a little bit overly promotional, they hammer you and banish you from the realm. Ask me how I know. And, that's not without its problems, because sometimes certain subreddits, you get a few mods that, get a taste of power and they kind of start abusing it. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it does tend to create a very unique environment where you can talk to other people without people pitching you stuff. Like if you want to talk about supplements, normally that would require sifting through a lot of promotional materials. So for example, best supplements for working out, we're going to select Reddit as our sort of focus search engine. Copilot wants to know muscle gain, weight loss, endurance. We're going to go for muscle gain. And here it is. So they're basically breaking it down with the, with their little sources. So specific posts that people have or, replies to posts. And they have their creatine, BCAAs, fish oil, vitamin D, zinc and magnesium, ZMA, L-carnitine, L-arginine, betaine. And I got to say, this is a very good list. Now, again, some of you might disagree with some of this stuff or agree with it. That's not really the point. What this thing just did, it summarized Reddit for me and the sort of crowdsourced knowledge of all these people that are talking about it. It summarized it for me, put it into the top 10 list, and it's all right here. And from having researched some of this and, reading Reddit and stuff like that, I think this is a really good representation of what they talk about on there. And if you'll notice, the one really frustrating thing with supplements is people pitch their own products, right? So a lot of the stuff is very cheap. Creatine is very cheap, for example. If I search for top pre-workout powders on Reddit, let's see what they're going to tell me. But basically, whenever you're searching for supplements, people pitch you their own products. The problem with that is very oftentimes what these people do, the manufacturers, is they buy very inexpensive ingredients like creatine and etc. And so when you're asking for like, what's a good workout powder? What's a good workout supplement? People start pitching you their little powders that in generally are pretty useless. A long time ago, I used to help companies do online marketing. One of them was a company doing pre-workout shakes. So I got an insider's look into how much it costs to produce these things. The actual cost of the materials that they put in those bottles is usually a few bucks. So like if you go online and buy those things wholesale, you can probably replicate that thing for, let's say $5. They get even cheaper, maybe $2, $3. And that's like 99% of the things on the market, with the possible exception of Gorilla Mode. That one's made by Derek from More Plates, More Dates, which I got to say is a very interesting title. He does seem like he knows his stuff. And what I really like about him is he actually talks about all the other supplements that he takes, and he's honest about it. No one looks like this by just drinking protein shakes, if you know what I mean. All right, so that's how you search on Reddit. Academic, for example, if I wanted to talk about the latest papers on AI agents, and this will strictly be searching through academic papers. Computer vision, yeah, let's do computer vision. There's a few papers that I've been meaning to cover that came out just recently that seem really, really interesting. Let's see if it can maybe pull some of those up. So it tells you the name of the paper, gives you a brief sort of background on it, and a link to the actual paper itself. The paper, Conceptual Framework for Autonomous Cognitive Entities, or ACE model. This looks familiar. Who knows what this is? Let's see. Conceptual Framework for Autonomous Cognitive Entities, Dave Shapiro. That's interesting. So Dave Shapiro is, of course, a AI YouTuber. I don't know if he was like the first AI YouTuber or not, but he's definitely one of the OGs. He's been at it for a while, and he helps break down some pretty interesting sort of concepts in AI. This is his channel, but he's got many, many more. And also he has impeccable taste in fashion and TV shows. I asked people on my channel who is the best captain of Starship Enterprise, and 60% of you nearly said Jean-Luc Picard. So I think he agrees. Anyways, it's interesting that his paper shows up as number 3 on here. Next, let's see if we wanted to search through YouTube's, for example. YouTube's. I meant to say videos. So it looks like you can just limit your search to YouTube. Let's see what that does. Let's say I wanted to know more about, so Microsoft has been cleaning house in Blizzard. So Microsoft firing people and changing things at Blizzard. Let's see what this does. So Microsoft has been making significant changes to its gaming division, including the acquisition of Activision Blizzard and the subsequent layoffs. So interestingly here, so it is looking at, these are all YouTube links as far as I can tell. I mean, we've limited the search to YouTube, so it should be. So interestingly enough, you can actually watch this videos within Perplexity. It's this guy. So you can actually watch the videos through Perplexity. You don't have to go anywhere else. So it looks like currently it doesn't like pull the information from the video directly. So it's not like looking at the transcript and trying to get that information. It looks like you can do high level searches about certain stuff, but you can't dive deeper into specific videos. So that might change in the future. So the YouTube is more for use for actually finding videos to watch, not really dissecting those videos. But so far you've seen basically the search side of Perplexity, how it replaces traditional search. And I gotta say, if that was all there was to it, that in and of itself would have been a very, very powerful thing. Like if we just left it here, that by itself makes it an incredible tool to use. But this goes a lot deeper. Let's take a look. So here's that Microsoft new Future of Work report that was released in December 2023. So I asked it to kind of give me the more interesting numbers and figures in the report, which it did. Here it is. Here's the original query. So I said, what are the top points? And then I kind of just gave it the PDF link. So it read through the PDF and kind of gave me these little top points. I said, okay, what are some more like specific numbers and figures, which it did here with specific numbers and figures. Later on, I might want to reference this in another video, or if I'm trying to look something up. So it'd be great to kind of have this information saved somewhere. Now, of course, you can hit, copy and then save it wherever you're going to save it, whatever sort of note-taking thing that you're using. But Perplexity has this collection feature. Let's take a look at that. So you're able to start various collections, so almost like a little file folder where you can put various interests or pieces of research. Let's create a new collection and we'll call it AI Summary. And this one will be a cat for some reason. And in the AI prompt, we're actually, instead of just describing what the point of it is, we're actually going to provide specific directions on how to format what we're looking for. So we're going to say for each link provided, create a report. Include the following in this order. Summary, do a quick summary with the main points of the article. Keywords, add keywords that relate to the article, like companies, people, and specific AI terms. Next, we're going to say interesting points, add interesting bullet points, numbers, figures, etc. Full story, write out an in-depth full story. Citations, at the bottom, add all the citations with titles and URLs. All right, so we're going to create that. We're going to go into this AI summary, and then let's take a story. So for example, here's humanoid robot startup figure AI. We're going to post that in there and click go. So as you can see here, it begins answering my question, but notice it's doing it in the exact way that I've asked it to. So we have the summary, gives a brief summary. Then we have keywords, figure AI, humanoid robots, Microsoft, OpenAI, funding round, startup investment. This is really good. And we can refine it further. So for example, if we needed to, we can say, if you're mentioning a company, also tag the main person associated with that company. So figure is Brett Adcock, Microsoft, Satya Nadella, Bill Gates, OpenAI is, Sam Altman, etc. Then we have our interesting points. Figure AI is developing humanoid robots. There's a funding round, 500 million. So it's including figures and numbers, right? 95 million, 5 million, just like we talked about, Microsoft and OpenAI. So this is a really good summary of everything in 4 little bullet points. Then we have the full story, and then we have our citations. In this case, it's only 1 because we only gave it 1. But, let's say we went to AI summary and we wanted to do, we're going to say growth of text to video AI. We're going to hit go. And again, it's going to do that research, found 17 sources, and it's going to output the exact sort of format that we're looking for. All right, so there's our summary. Keywords, so it did bullet points. So, I would change my prompt to say, separate them by commas. Although this isn't too bad, I gotta say. It's mentioning Lumiere, Google, Meta. So this is great because this is Google's Lumiere is fairly recent at this point. And it's giving us all of the interesting points that we've talked about. and then writes out the full story. And so that's the full story. That's quite a bit actually. And then all the citations. All right, so that's good. I mean, I would change how it formats this. So I'd say just do one per line or something like that, just so it looks a little bit better. But I mean, this is, this works. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this cannot possibly get any cooler, right? Well, yes, it can. Yes, it can, because we can click attach and then attach. So for example, we can do images. Here's a PDF file. This is a study. So it's going to upload it to Perplexity. Now, by the way, so they're pretty open about like what they train on, what they don't train on. So you can always look that up. They have a pretty good explanation of what they do and don't do. So it's part of the FAQ. So it's not buried in the fine print. And so, they don't sell, trade, or share your personal information, except it sounds like for, if there's like service providers that they need to share it with, like sending email. They do use sort of the stuff that you do to improve the experience. So that is part of AI learning. And they do train on your data, but you can switch it off in account settings. But I've uploaded the study PDF. So we're going to ask for bullet points of the main findings. So it's saying, so what's the topic or subject? But we're going to click skip because like it's just what's in the paper. So here are the bullet points. So LLMs can be trained to exhibit deceptive behavior. This behavior persists even after standard safety training techniques. It's persistent in large language models, in the largest models, and adversarial training can help them better hide it. And so I got to say, this is a pretty good summary of that paper. This study is smaller with about 30 pages. And here they're talking about like basically AI authors on the future of AI. And let me see if I can ask a specific question, like how soon will full automation of labor be feasible? All right, so this paper is uploaded. How soon will full automation of labor be feasible? Let's ask it that. All right, so that took quite a while for it to do that. But once it finally completed it, it does look like it did a really good job of sort of summarizing this PDF. And it looks like it drew all the information from the PDF that I gave it. You can see the only citation is 1. And let's see if it's correct. So they're saying 10% chance by 2037, 50% chance by 2116. So 50% chance by 2116, bingo. And it looks like it just pulled it from the abstracts of the very first page. And, here's that data. So this is really good. I would say that for PDFs, again, I mean, if we're running into the context limit for these LLMs, so this one I'm using GPT-4, but I'll show you in a second how to flip between models to try different ones. But the point is, so some of this we're running up against the LLM context window, not necessarily anything with Perplexity. So, I mean, if you're going to load a 1,000-page PDF in there, it's probably not going to be able to find every single thing in there. But for brief summarizations and kind of like overviews, it works incredibly well. And we're going to try to attach a file, and we're going to ask it to describe. And that file specifically, it's a JPEG, so it's an image of sort of the online ad revenue of newspapers versus Google, the one that you saw at the beginning of this video. And we're going to say, describe the image. Wow, that's really good. So it sees the image. It says the image is titled Newspaper Advertising Revenue, Adjusted for Inflation, 1950 to 2014. So it read the title. That's excellent. Blue line represents newspaper print only, which shows a peak around the late 1980s to early 1990s and a significant decline starting from around 2005. So late 1980s a peak, 1990s, so somewhere it's saying it peaked somewhere here, and then in 2005 started trending down, which I gotta say I am very impressed. I'm actually curious what model it's using for this. We have to check it out. So GPT-4, so I'm assuming it's GPT-4, with vision, it's the GPT-4 vision model, but I am gonna try to verify that. The red line represents including digital, right? So this kind of uptick is due to digital for the digital revenue for newspapers, online publications, etc. And then green and pink is Facebook and Google, green and pink. It even noticed that the annotations added by Ben Thompson and Baked Doll. So, wow, this is really good. This is the important thing I think to understand is that, right, yeah, maybe it's able to recognize the chart, but what's the point of this chart, right? Because nowhere on here does it say the point. You have to draw your own conclusions, right? So you have to notice that as this is crashing, this is rising, right? Nowhere on here does it say why or, in order to understand this image, you really have to understand what the blue line is, what that represents, what these lines represent. The graph indicates that while traditional newspaper advertising revenue has declined, the advertising revenues for digital giants like Facebook and Google have surged. the source of the data is attributed to whatever it's attributed to. Okay, perfect. So I expected it to reason, to continue the reasoning process and maybe take a stab at why that's happening, saying, oh, the reason this is happening is likely because blah, blah, blah. But important to note, it did not do that. And now that I think about it, obviously, I think that's the whole point of Perplexity. I think it did exactly what it's supposed to do. It did not reason. It did not guess. It did not project. It didn't say anything that it can't put one of these little citations next to and point to as, here's where I read that. Here's where I found that. So the fact that it doesn't, follow the logic train, the chain of logic, that doesn't reason, doesn't think through what this could mean is a feature, not a bug. It's not supposed to do that. And that's how it reduces hallucinations. It only says what it sees. And I got to say, I am very, very impressed with this answer. All right, so that's it. This thing can't possibly be any cooler than everything that I've showed you. Like, that's it. It can't possibly have more cool features, right? Wrong. Enter playground. OpenAI has a playground for their models. A lot of other ones kind of have a playground. It's more sort of advanced version of whatever they're doing. So if the main thing that they're doing is a chat bot where people can chat back and forth, the playground is going to be the thing where you can like dig deep into like the temperature settings and the different models and kind of you just have more options. So it might be confusing for, the average person that's trying to get into it. So they're hiding all of the behind the scenes stuff, but the playground is where you can like dig deep into it. So this is the playground. So it is a chat agent. It's back and forth. But here's the thing. These are the various models that you can try. And they add all the latest models that are released, not just their own, but open source models, etc. These guys release them, they add them to Perplexity really, really fast. I think 2 days ago, Meta announced that Code Llama 70 billion parameter model was released, which a lot of people are interested. They want to try it. And there's a number of ways of doing it. They're like a little bit complicated. They're not super complicated, but you have to know what you're doing in order to set it up, to test it out. There isn't like an easy way to just go somewhere and test it, except Perplexity AI within 48 hours of, all that being published has it as one of the models that you can select. Create Python code for bouncing ball animations. Yeah, okay, so there it goes. 0.34 seconds to first token. And so the entire thing took 6.78 seconds. Copy the code. So we'll copy the code, post that in there. And so it does this. So something's happening on screen. I can't tell what, but I mean, it created working code. We're going to say make the ball move much faster. And so that's going to give me an updated version of the code. All right, so I'll post that in there and click play. There we go. Okay. Make it move in circles. All right, so it's outputting that whole thing. All right, so I paste that in there. Let's see what happens. All right, and it just kind of goes off into a random direction. All right, how about create code to make art in the style of Vasily Kandinsky? Let's see what that does. That's a prompt that I saw. I think Google was testing their own version. So basically, since this is kind of older, it doesn't have copyright anymore. So it's okay to reproduce the work or, do it in that style. And his works were kind of looked like this. So it's very like geometric shapes. So it's easy to replicate that with code. So let's see how that does. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. So it randomly recreates it. It kind of got the point, and yeah, not bad. Anyway, so that's Code Llama 70B, which right now is kind of a big deal. If you haven't tried it yet, you can definitely do that. We also have Mistral 7B, Mixtro 8x7B. So that's the mixture of experts model, 8 experts by 7 billion parameters. So let's ask, create an inspiring story in one sentence. In a world where fear and hatred often reign supreme, one person's courageous act of kindness and compassion sparks a chain reaction. That's a run-on sentence, but it's good. Create an inspiring story in 3 words. Love conquers all. That's pretty good. How about 2 words? Hope persists. Very good. 1 word? Let's see. Resilience. All right, you win this time, Mixtral. Perplexity does go a lot deeper once you start hooking up other stuff to it. So Zapier connects to it and just takes it to the next level for very specific automation and tasks. We will go into that at another time. Specifically, I think where this could be incredibly useful is building, a second brain, building like a library of all of your ideas and thoughts and research and just all of this stuff that you're able to quickly, rapidly go through with Perplexity to kind of like catalog it and pull it out as need be. And as you can see here, it does well with PDFs, excellent with images, obviously searches through the internet, YouTube, academic papers, Reddit, etc. And it is free. Yes, you heard that correctly. It's free. It does have a pro membership, which gives you more Copilot queries. It allows you to select more from the models, which we'll take a look at in a second. So a lot of the stuff that I've been doing today is with GPT-4. We have Claude 2.1, Gemini. I think Gemini Pro was available that I saw. Perplexity. I believe somewhere they said that by default, they're using GPT 3.5, but it's like a modified version. And then you have API credits for PPLX API, which there's a lot more to this thing through APIs and connections to other things. We'll cover that in a different video. So as you can see here, you can actually have default, you have experimental models, Gemini Pro, and we'll probably have Gemini Ultra maybe, hopefully once that comes out, and OpenAI Anthropic models as well. So they're not paying me to say any of this or promote any of this. I'll post a link in the show notes. I'll also post a referral link, which gives you a discount, gives you $10, gives me $10. Obviously, you don't have to use it. I'm not doing this for Perplexity credits, but you know, if you need $10 and you want to help me get $10 off of it, I'll post that in there. I'll also post the naked link without the referral code in case you just want to not go through that. Whatever floats your boat, I'm cool with that. And again, you don't even have to pay. You don't have to sign up for Perplexity Pro, which is, I believe it's $20 a month, they said. So it looks like Perplexity Pro, $20 per month or $200 per year, 7-day free trial. But again, most of this is free to use with limits. It's even, you don't even have to sign in. I mean, this is incognito window. I can go to Perplexity, without logging in. They want you to log in, but you can go and you can just ask it whatever you want. Analyze the U.S. housing market, and it gives you the answers. If you wanted to go use the playground and play around with the Llama model, again, you can just do that here. Code for creating a PDF. So this is free. I'm not logged in. It will output that for you for free, no email required. And they also have their mobile apps, iOS, Android, etc. So in closing, I just got to say, it seems like over the last 10 plus years, the online environment has kind of been getting worse in terms of the user experience. People are just trying to make more money, shove in more ads, more tracking, more God knows what. And all of a sudden we have these things, these LLMs, these AIs, these neural networks, and they allow us to cut through the noise. All of a sudden we can get the information that we need. We don't have to deal with the pop-ups and the tracking and the whatever. We don't have to sit there and read all the fluff. We can just get the parts out that we need. We don't have to interact with the social media algorithms. We can just get the data that we need. If you find that newspapers are biased, but you do still need to read the story, you can have the AI extract the meaning, the context, the meat and potatoes, if you will, and leave all the garbage out. Cut out the outrage, the fluff, and all the stuff that makes the user experience worse, and just get what you need. And now you may be saying, yeah, well, Perplexity, they're just doing this. They're just cool right now. And then later they'll become just like the rest of them. Maybe, maybe not. But a lot of these things are open source, or can be if open source is allowed to continue. And in fact, if open source continues developing things like these, like as long as they keep doing the development of the latest LLMs, of vision, of whatever you call the Perplexity engine, so that's sort of its ability to crawl the web and pull the text out. Not only will it provide alternatives to the closed corporate model, but it will also put pressure on them to, be more cool. Because if you have a free alternative that does everything better, that prevents them from, doing whatever they want because there's no alternative. But we're about to see some interesting stuff happen at their section of technology like this and publishing, right? Because obviously you just saw me pull information from big publishers like Bloomberg and others, and their whole business model is you going to that website and interacting with ads and getting your information harvested, etc. What happens when 1% of the people opt out and just use this? What happens when that number reaches 20%, 50%? And it's not just the publishers, it's Google. What happens if this is better than Google search and more people start using it? What happens to Google and Microsoft as a result of that? What if I don't want to go to Twitter proper, but rather just have this search and pull out the coolest tweets for me? What if I want to build my own algorithm that pulls out the tweets and the Facebook posts and the Instagram posts and the Reddit posts that I like based on my own preferences and nothing else, instead of a algorithm designed for profit. It's an algo that's for me based on whatever I want. Interesting data with no outrage, with no political crap, etc. This makes it very possible. And there's not really much that they can do to protect against it, other than maybe some government regulations, laws, lawsuits, etc. So how this cookie crumbles over the next 10 years is going to determine in a very large way how open the internet will be, how much we're going to be allowed to use AI to benefit the end consumer versus the large corporations, etc. But I recommend you take a second, play around with Perplexity. Again, you get X number of searches for free with Copilot. So maybe just run a few searches per day just to kind of get used to it. It's a game changer. And again, I don't know if Perplexity is going to be the one. It's one of the first ones that really truly shows the power that this model has, but there might be, a better one launched a year from now or whatever. But this is where things are going, and it's exciting. And for somebody like me that just saw the internet experience get worse and worse and worse from, let's say 2011 to now, this is a breath of fresh air. Because for every pop-up that annoyed the crap out of me, for every EU cookie notice that I had to click through, for every autoplayed video that I had to deal with, this is the wrecking ball that's coming for these people, and it's coming fast. Anyways, my name is Wes Ropp. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.